Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. Zhou dove from the sky. When the dust settled, and his vision was clear, he saw the entirety of the five-finger pit on the ground. Although he had used the deadly strike card several times before this, when he saw the effect again, he was still shocked by its indescribably destructive power. The reward of 4,000 merit points meant that Fa Kong was weaker than Qi Yao. Although the palm seal was shocking, it paled in comparison to the shocking strike he had dealt Qi Yao in the dark abyss that illuminated the place. Zhou did not need to waste his breath with this aggressive nine-leaf cultivator. Even if he could have killed Fa Kong with his own ability, it still would not be dependable as the deadly strike cards. Indeed, this would cost him some merit points. However, he had just reached the nine-leaf stage, there were still many things he needed to learn and understand. This Blood Sun Sect elite obviously would not obediently surrender. Therefore, Zhou decided to kill him with a strike. It was a neat, thorough, and decisive move. Zhou finally descended and made his way to the palm-shaped pit. He saw the Blood Sun Temple's high monk, Fa Kong, lying inside. Fa Kong's arms and body were crushed and damaged beyond repair, and his face was injured beyond recognition. Fa Kong was dead. Indeed, Fa Kong was far stronger than Jiang Wenxiu. However, back then, Zhou had used a peak trial card. His battle with Jiang Wenxiu was a one-sided fight. This time, he relied on his own strength. Combined with the Heavenly Writing's extraordinary power, he managed to last until now. Karmic fire? Zhou fell deep into his thoughts as he stroked his beard. Can a nine-leaf cultivator burn energy? During dire situations, ordinary cultivators always went one of two ways during their death struggle. The first was to self-destruct by releasing all the primal qi in their seas of qi in an explosive manner. With that, they would be able to create a great impact in a short time. Best case scenario, they would survive but destroy their cultivation base's worst case scenario, they would die instantly. The second method was to burn their seas of qi, releasing the potential contained in the primal qi. This was a method to temporarily raise their cultivation bases. After doing this, the cultivators would suffer irreparable damages to their bodies. Clearly, the Red Lotus Karmic Fire Fa Kong released in his death throes did not belong to those two methods. It was more similar to releasing power by burning energy that was condensed from primal qi. After mulling over it for a moment, Zhou shook his head to rid himself of these thoughts. This was not the time to be thinking about these things. After he was sure that Fa Kong was dead, Zhou called up the system dashboard and looked at his remaining life. He hoped the earlier rise in numbers was not a temporary thing. Remaining life, 73,003 days. 200 years. After reaching the nine-leaf stage, Zhou's life was extended for 73,000 days, which was 200 years. This extension of his life must be due to his breakthrough to the nine-leaf stage. From the one-leaf to eight-leaf stage, every single leaf added 50 years to a cultivator's life. It seemed like the ninth leaf granted cultivators 200 years of life. Currently, the great limit of life had been broken. Zhou was now a true nine-leaf cultivator of Great Yen. Zhou looked at his hair. It had reverted to its salt and pepper, half black and half white, state. However, his body and movements seemed to be better than before. Whiz. He flipped his right palm and manifested a miniature avatar. The 9 leaves spun around the lotus. At the same time, wisps of vitality flowed out from the golden lotus. An outflow of vitality? He remembered that the final golden energy ring did not slide down when he was at the point of breakthrough. Instead, it moved in the opposite direction by moving upward. Then, the golden lotus was brimming with life after absorbing sufficient life force. That was when the 9th leaf sprouted. At this moment, Zhou noticed the numbers on the dashboard were rising. Plus 200. Plus 300. Plus 100. Zhou's expression remained calm. With a burst of movement, he left the palm-shaped pit that destroyed the landscape. He went into the forest and sat down in a quiet spot. Then, he began to gather the outpour of vitality from his 9-leaf cultivation base. Meanwhile, The three evil sky pavilion elders and disciples and the great Yen cultivators who came to watch the demonstration flew south in a frenzy. Si Wuya, Duanmu Shang, Mingxirin, Zhu Honggong, and Zhou Yu were leading the others. The nine-leaf cultivators moved too quickly for them. They could not keep up. There are signs of a battle. Fallen trees were strewn across the lands, mountains were flattened. I hope the pavilion master is all right. Be careful, everyone. Our visitor isn't a pushover. Everyone nodded. Keep chasing after them. We can't let any harm come to Senior G, no matter what. Otherwise, Great Yen will be in danger. The cultivators looked ahead as they flew in the air. Pan Lydian turned around to look at those behind him and asked, "Are you afraid?" "Of course not." Someone exclaimed loudly. The person continued to say, "If we advance, we might survive this. However, if we retreat, we're done for." If being afraid is useful, we would have submitted to the 12 allied nations a long time ago. Great Yen thrived for such a long time because the people were not cowards. The pavilion master was magnanimous enough to demonstrate the way to reach the nine-leaf stage without considering the price he had to pay. If he weren't in the midst of his demonstration, the attacker wouldn't have stood a chance at all. How are we different from beasts if we cower in fear and retreat? Those who are afraid should scram. We won't stop you. Someone shouted. None of the cultivators in the air retreated. All of them wore a determined expression on their faces. All right. I'll lead the way. Pan Lydian tossed his golden gourd bottle out. The gourd bottle spun in the air and pointed south before it flew swiftly in that direction. Let's go. Hundreds of cultivators flew in the sky under Pan Lydian's lead. In the Red Lotus domain. The sun was shining down at this moment. However, dark and gloomy clouds seemed to loom over the Blood Sun Mountain. The Blood Sun Temple was shrouded in darkness. Inside the Zen Hall, the monotonic raps on the wooden fish rang in the air. The sounds were not slow nor rushed. At this moment, a strong gust of wind blew across the room, forcing the windows open. Creak. The rapping noises stopped. A disciple in Kasaya bowed before he straightened one hand before himself and reported, "Abbot, the life stone of the monastic discipline hall's first seat, Fa Kong, has shattered." His tone and expression were calm as though he had already foreseen this. A voice rang from the Zen room at this moment. Fa Kong is the second Zen cultivator who mastered the karmic fire of our temple. His cultivation base is on par with mine. Pass this information to the Sky Marshal Court. We'll have to postpone the Sky Shuttle project. Understood. After the disciple in the Kasaya left, inside the Zen room, an old man dressed in ordinary monk's robes opened his eyes slightly. He straightened a palm before himself and heaved a long sigh. Peaceful nirvana is the fruit of proper cultivation. He's now in the cycle of reincarnation. Amitabha. In front of the evil sky pavilion's great hall, little Yuan and Conk took turns looking after Yi Tianqin. Meanwhile, the injured eight-leaf cultivators sat cross-legged on the ground as they sped up their recovery. Hua Wudao stood in front of the others, pacing up and down as he occasionally glanced outside the barrier. What fucking bad luck. Who's that cultivator who appeared out of nowhere? Zhu Tianyuan cursed before coughing. Senior Zhu, the red elite who must have been a nine-leaf cultivator. Nan Gongwei sighed as he shook his head. The Red Lotus cultivator was capable of injuring several eight-leaf cultivators with a few strikes and pushed the evil Sky Pavilion's Patriarch back. There was nobody apart from a nine-leaf cultivator who was capable of such feats. There's always someone stronger than us. In the past, I'd thought I'd learned about the world's secrets at the eight-leaf stage. Now that I think about it, I realize how foolish I was. Huang Shiji adjusted his breathing as he said, "Before I met Brother Ji, I had the same thought. There's no need to worry. Brother Ji will certainly defeat that person." The others nodded. At this moment, this was the only way they could comfort themselves. At this moment, someone emerged from the great hall. Brother Zhu? Zhu Tianyuan opened his eyes. He endured the pain in his chest and looked at the person who called out to him. He asked, Zhenghai? Why are you hiding inside? Zhenghai said sheepishly, I'm no match for a 9-leaf elite. Zhou Tianyuan spat. Coward. The other 8-leaf cultivators regarded Zhenghai with scornful expressions. Don't say that. It's stupid to charge forward when defeat is inevitable. Brother Zhou, you only have yourself to blame for your current state. Are you done speaking? Zhou Tianyuan asked, annoyed. Don't be mad, Brother Zhou. You're in bad shape at the moment. You should prioritize healing yourself, Zhenghai said softly. Then, he asked, does anyone know what that red thing was? Everyone shook their heads. That thing is recorded in the books. It's known as a sky shuttle, Zhenghai said with a dramatic flair. Zhou Tianyuan suddenly turned to look at Zhenghai. He suddenly remembered the record he had brought with him after leaving the ancient saint cult. He asked pointedly, why didn't you say anything earlier if you have knowledge of it? Zhenghai said with a sigh, what good would that do? Mr. Seventh's pride wouldn't have allowed me to speak. Moreover, would you have listened to my explanation, Brother Zhou? Indeed, it was a 9-leaf elite in the sky shuttle. Moreover, from the looks of it, he had reached the 9-leaf stage a long time ago. I'm afraid things aren't looking good for Senior G. What do you mean by that? Zhou Tianyuan glared at Zhenghai. Zhenghai frowned slightly. I meant no ill will. I'm just stating the fact. You? No ill will. Zhou Tianyuan looked at Zhenghai disdainfully. Brother Zhou. I have 10 healing saint pills here. Everyone, please take some. They have miraculous effects on internal injuries. Zhenghai fished out a pouch from his pocket before showing the cultivators the pills. Zhou Tianyuan looked at the medicinal pills and said with a smile, don't forget that I'm the master of the ancient saint cult. You shouldn't use these kinds of tricks in front of me. Brother Zhou, the pills aren't poisonous. When you were away from the ancient saint cult, I sent some of our men to the Yuan'er sect and bought these pills at a high price. To prove his words, Zhenghai instantly swallowed one of the pills. Then, he stared at Zhou Tianyuan with a peculiar smile on his face as he asked, are you really going to refuse it? Zhou Tianyuan no longer paid any attention to Zhenghai. Instead, he looked at Hua Wudao who was standing before the other 8-leaf cultivators. Elder Hua. What is it? Drive this man out of Golden Court Mountain now. The 8-leaf cultivators present, Nan Gongwei, Feng Yizhi, Chu Nan, Wang Shiji, Yi Tianqin, and Zhang Zhishui, looked at Zhou Tianyuan, confused by his request. Hua Wudao looked at Zhenghai and said, Zhenghai, as an 8-leaf cultivator, you didn't help, but I don't blame you for that. However, if you stir up trouble, I will have no choice but to drive you out. Hua Wudao had overheard Zhou Tianyuan and Zhenghai's conversation. He could tell Zhenghai was trying to stir up trouble. Zhenghai straightened his back and stood in front of the 8-leaf cultivators. He spread his arms as he said, I was merely trying to advise you. I even laid out the facts for you. Instead of listening to me, you accuse me of having ill intentions. I can understand this kind of behavior from Mr. Seventh since he's still young. However, you're all 8-leaf elites. Why can't you listen to reason? The cultivators frowned slightly, they found Zhenghai's words grating on their ears. Hua Wudao looked at Zhenghai pointedly and asked, how did you know that thing is called a sky shuttle? Zhenghai pointed at Zhou Tianyuan and said, I've seen an introduction about the sky shuttle in a book before. There's even a drawing of it and an explanation of its functions. At this moment, Zhou Tianyuan suddenly coughed violently. When he recovered from his coughing fit, he glared at Zhenghai and said, you were the one who tore the pages from the notes out. I was merely curious so I tore a few pages out. It wasn't much anyway. At that time, I thought the person who wrote those notes was a nut job. It was only when the 7 great sects attacked the evil sky pavilion that I knew, the notes were not the work of a nut job but a true peerless genius. An expression of fearful respect appeared on Zhenghai's face. No wonder Zhenghai knew about the sky shuttle. He was the one who had torn out the pages about the sky shuttle in the notes. Hua Wudao asked, do you know about the sky shuttle's weakness? Zhenghai shook his head and said, there are many things in that notebook that are difficult to understand. The author's mind isn't something I can understand. I didn't expect I'd see a sky shuttle. Moreover, there's a 9-leaf cultivator inside that sky shuttle. I bet Senior G won't be able to destroy the sky shuttle. Nonsense. Throw him out. Zhou Tianyuan wanted to rise to his feet, but he discovered he did not even have the strength to move his limbs. Zhenghai shrugged. So I am going to be driven out of this place for telling the truth? Zhou Tianyuan's face was flushed red and drenched in sweat as he pointed a finger at Zhenghai and said, "You've poisoned." The other 8-leaf cultivators were shocked. Then, they felt their blood essence surging and that they were quickly losing strength. Wuya raised his hand immediately. He tried to stop the poison by tapping on his solar plexus. Alas, the poison had spread to his extraordinary 8 meridians. Then, his vision began to blur. Stop struggling. The name of this poison is intoxicating spring breeze. When the sky shuttle appeared, I'd applied the poison to all of you. The medicinal pills I just offered you are the antidotes to the intoxicating spring breeze. This poison is a cocktail of hundreds of plants and was refined over 49 days. It's the most primal poison you can get your hands on. You'll feel as though you're drunk once you're poisoned and lose all your strength. I suggest all of you refrain from circulating your primal qi. That will only speed the poison up. Nan Gongwei said in a deep voice, despicable. Feng Yizhi said, if you're a man, cure me of this poison and fight me. Zhenghai shook his head. I offered you the antidote earlier, but you refused. Up until now, I've not spoken a word of lie. I treated all of you sincerely, but what did I get in return? Swoosh. Zhou Tianyuan pushed himself up from the ground and launched palm seals as he endured the poison coursing through his body. Zhenghai, who was caught off guard, raised his hand to defend himself. Bam. Both opponents retreated. Zhou Tianyuan spat out a mouthful of blood as he slid back on the limestone floor and crashed against the stone column at the edge of the plaza. Brother Zhou. The others exclaimed in shock. Zhenghai was in no better state. He stumbled several steps back before he stomped his feet on the ground to stabilize himself. He grunted as blood trickled from the edge of his lips. He glared at Zhou Tianyuan and said, Zhou Tianyuan. Are you going to throw your life away? Zhou Tianyuan was injured to begin with, and yet, he endured the poison and attacked under such circumstances. It was unexpected that he managed to Zhenghai, who was uninjured earlier. Zhenghai, even if I die, I won't let you have your way, Zhou Tianyuan said with a smile as he bit back the pain and wiped the blood from his mouth. You're a madman. Zhenghai swept his gaze across the other 8-leaf cultivators. As the saying went, once bitten, twice shy. He was wary now. Zhou Tianyuan, surrender the notebook, and I'll leave. Nan Gongwei snorted and said, don't fall for it. He's bold enough to poison us today, there's no way he'll let us go so easily. Zhenghai looked at Nan Gongwei and said gruffly, don't test my patience. I can easily kill you if I want to. You wish. All of a sudden, a figure shot past Yi Tianqin. The scarlet nirvana sash unfurled and moved in an offensive manner. At the same time, 2 fists swung toward Zhenghai. Zhenghai was taken aback. He kept retreating backward and raised his hands to defend himself. Bam. 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 Little Yuan's sudden attacks had caught Zhenghai off guard. The 7 stars cloud treading steps allowed little Yuan to move swiftly. Zhenghai kept retreating. When he saw the attacks were going to land on him, he decisively summoned his avatar. Whiz. The 8-leaf golden lotus shrunk almost immediately. Little Yuan was struck by the sudden burst of power and reeled back. Her nirvana sash wrapped itself around her waist as she landed on the ground. Zhenghai's eyes widened as he looked at the young girl. He said, you're not poisoned? Little Yuan placed her hands on her hips and said, why would I be poisoned? Little Yuan's words confused the other 8-leaf cultivators as well. Why was she not poisoned? If senior sister Tianqin wasn't feeling uncomfortable, I would have killed you a long time ago. Little Yuan brandished her nirvana sash. The people in the cultivation world say that the evil sky pavilion's Miss Ninth is amazingly talented. Now that I've witnessed it, it seems like the rumors are true. However, you're not even an 8-leaf cultivator, are you sure you can kill me? Zhenghai fought back the pain and calmly smiled. I'll try. Little Yuan moved at lightning speed as she shot toward Zhenghai. The two of them were engaged in a battle again. Bam. 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 Energy fists that moved more swiftly than before kept raining down. Yi Tianqin, who was sitting limply on the ground, was slightly shocked by this sight. I didn't know that 9th junior sister's cultivation base and strength have improved this much. The other 8-leaf cultivators were also shocked by little Yuan's performance. Under the frenzy of attacks, Zhenghai had no choice but to retreat and block. This young girl's martial arts foundation is really solid. Bam. When Zhenghai was briefly distracted, the Nirvana sash struck his chest. He staggered back until he reached the edge of the plaza. However, he scoffed and said, "Young girl, you still can't compare to an 8-leaf cultivator." Whiz. Zhenghai summoned his avatar again. History seemed to repeat itself as little Yuan reeled back again. She flipped once before she landed. However, this time, she stumbled 2 steps back before she regained her footing. This was the advantage a cultivator had when his realm and avatar were above his opponents. Unless his opponent had a heaven-grade weapon, it would be as difficult as ascending to heaven to close the gap between avatars that were a level apart. This time, Zhenghai took the initiative to attack from the sky. "You're too nosy, I'll take you out first." Zhenghai summoned his avatar again. The 8-leaf golden lotus avatar sailed toward little Yuan. The other 8-leaf cultivators wanted to rise to their feet to help, but they discovered the poison had already spread through their bodies, rendering them immobile. Miss Ninth, run. Miss Ninth, forget about us. Save yourself. Although Zhenghai had been injured by Zhou Tianyuan, he was currently the strongest person on the scene. How could the 7-leaf little Yuan be a match for him? Just when the avatar was almost upon little Yuan, a voice cried out, "Ninth senior sister." Bam. A weak-looking red lotus shot past little Yuan. However, the impact of the 8-leaf golden lotus sent the 2 girls flying. Zhenghai exclaimed in a hoarse voice, "Red lotus." The other 8-leaf cultivators had noticed the red lotus as well. Red lotus? To think there was a red lotus cultivator in the evil sky pavilion. Little Yuan grabbed conch and summoned her 7-leaf avatar as she forcibly kept herself from falling. Zhenghai exclaimed excitedly, "This is a great discovery. I didn't know the evil sky pavilion that everyone fears and respects is harboring a red lotus cultivator." Currently, people in Great Yen regarded all red lotus cultivators as invaders. Although they did not know much, their impression of the red lotus cultivators was not good. This was especially true after Jiang Wenxiu's death. Moreover, those who were privy to the details hated the red lotus even more. Zhenghai walked toward conch and little Yuan. "Wait." Zhou Tianyuan sat up straight. "HM? You want the notebook?" Zhou Tianyuan asked. "That's right. Give me the notebook, and I'll leave," Zhenghai said. Zhou Tianyuan said weakly, "Come here. I'll give it to you." Zhenghai, naturally, refused to go over. He was now on guard against the 8-leaf cultivator present on the scene. He would approach them unnecessarily. In that case, we'll see who can outlast the other. Zhenghai stood before everyone. Little Yuan flew toward the evil sky pavilion with conch at a high speed. "Catch me if you can." "Little child, I won't fall for that." Zhenghai looked at Zhou Tianyuan and kept his guard up against the other 8-leaf cultivators at the same time. All he had to do was to wait a little longer, and they would completely lose their ability to fight. Meanwhile, in the sky south of Measure Heaven River, the members of the Evil Sky Pavilion and Great Yen cultivators looked at the huge palm-shaped pit on the ground. What's that? The pavilion master's palm seal? Those with keen eyesight recognized it immediately. The cultivators landed and approached the pit. They were thoroughly shocked by the immensity of the pit. This palm seal. Isn't it a bit of an overkill?